Ladies and gentlemen, RosterWatch Nation, welcome back to the epic RosterWatch Podcast, brought to you by RosterWatch.com. My name is Alex Dunlap, here, of course, with the Trashman. So happy to be back on the podcast feed. Trashman, we've had radio, but a busy month of December, not the waiver wire stuff in the fantasy playoffs, of course. We had the waiver wire cheat sheets for our pro members, but the the numbers for Waiver Wire Podcast sure drop off a little bit once we get to the fantasy football playoffs. So a little bit of break from the podcast. Good to be back on with you, brother.
Yeah, nice to be back.
Yeah, we're getting into draft season, which means today we'll have some evaluation talk about our first wide receiver that we'll get into from the Senior Bowl, or that we're planning on seeing at the Senior Bowl. Just a quick note, of course, at RosterWatch, this is where we shine, is this time of year, getting out to see these prospects, bringing you the insight about them. So these will just be sort of some of our initial evaluations about Rashee Rice, the wide receiver out of SMU. But of course, these evaluations change a lot once we get to Mobile and we can see them. So, that'll be the deciding deal. Of course, Byron this year is going to be at the Shrine Game. Trashman and I will be at the Senior Bowl. Of course, we'll also have a presence at the Combine and the Pro Days and everything else. And so this is just the start, but we'll talk about Rashee Rice. He's definitely an interesting guy to talk about. But before we get into that, Trashman, I need to talk to you about a Dynasty rankings overhaul, because we have the top 250 over at RosterWatch. And during the season, it's just easy with all of our other content responsibilities and everything we're working on with, season-long leagues and different write-ups and, your weekly flex rankings and the DFS cheat sheets and all the rest, to let Dynasty updates get – they still get updated weekly, but it's not – I feel like the whole thing just needs to be – we just need to start over on it. There's so many of these guys that I need to kind of talk to you about, that I think it's best that we just maybe just scrap it and start over.
Yeah, it's done like in a piecemeal kind of way. It after over the length of a season, it can become discordant in some facets.
Yeah, so there's the first couple of things I wanted to just talk about. Just a couple of headlines here that really stuck out to me. The first was, and I like, this is just interesting to me, but in Superflex and in one quarterback, you have Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. And I just wanted to ask you, like, I think it's fine. I think it's probably fine. Those guys, when I looked at it, they both, as far as their fantasy points per game, they're basically exactly the same on the season. The only thing I worry about with it at all is just having anybody over Josh Allen. Allen.
An important aspect of this is that Hurts is 2 years younger.
I know, I know, but and that's why it made sense to me. The only, here's where it just becomes worrisome, just a small bit. And dude, and look, that's not all you can say about Jalen Hurts. You can also say that he has the best two wide receiver combo, right? Besides, I guess you can argue combo. Yeah, you can argue maybe Tyreek and Waddle, but AJ Brown and Devontae Smith, especially with how Devontae Smith has come on, to end this season, is even without that, Devontae Smith won the damn Heisman. He's always been really, really good. But
and both of those guys are under 24 years old.
Yeah, they both have to be. AJ Brown will be AJ Brown is. Remember, I think he's a little bit older. Let's see, how old is Arthur Juan Brown? What is he? We have him listed where was he 25 this year? That can't be right. AJ Brown wiki. I'm sure it'll tell us on Wikipedia. He was born June 30th, 1997, which would make him 25. He'll be 26 this next year.
Okay.
So still young, right? Still young. He's still in his prime. Devontae Smith. Let's just see where we have him on the sheet. I just didn't trust so Devontae Smith will be 25. AJ Brown a little bit older than I remembered. Regardless, They are young. I mean, still young in their prime. So there's that on Jalen Hurts' side. What's not on his side is that he's only on contract through next year, right? And I think that'll change.
Yeah,
I think that'll change.
I mean, if the Eagles have any priority, it's to keep Jalen Hurts on that team,
right? But what is there a non-zero chance that somehow he tanks and like having him above Josh Allen for a period of time ends up looking just irresponsible?
We can change that. It's just, but like right now, it just, to me, the age and the tools were the tiebreaker for me. I mean, some people I guess could argue that he's, a physical quarterback, but then so is Josh Allen.
I'm wondering, I wonder if other services have Jalen Hurts above Josh Allen. I'm just trying to go look and see. Let's go here. I'll go to Player Profiler and just see what Matt and Cody and them have. I always love to compare with like Matt and Cody. They have them at one. They have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen Hurts. I think we need to have Josh Allen at one, dude. I don't want to get behind the industry.
I don't think they've probably changed those in a while. I mean, at least that's the way it seems.
Mahomes been on a tear. He's still young. I mean, Mahomes is Mahomes. I don't mind having Hurts ahead of Mahomes. I worry about this Josh Allen thing. Look, I just want to bring it up for discussion, right? Let's just think about it. Let's ask Byron. Let's just talk about it. I think it's an important thing to talk about. Your top pick in Superflex, right? It's like, so we'll ask Byron what he thinks, whether it's worth kind of going out on a limb versus industry consensus on Jalen Hurts over Josh Allen. That's my only concern, right? I mean, some of this other stuff is just. I think it's going to be easy to make adjustments and everything, but that's kind of like that's your headlining piece, If we're gonna, put these back up and have a complete overhaul, I think we should think seriously about Josh Allen over Jalen Hurts.
Okay.
All right. Some of this other stuff, I think Christian McCaffrey, even though he's been awesome with San Francisco, he's going to be 27, and that's starting to be too old to be over guys like. I mean, we need to have guys like Kenneth Walker and Breece Hall, maybe even CeeDee Lamb over Christian McCaffrey. That's
fine with me.
That are like 4 or 5 years younger, right? So let's make that happen. Do you think AJ Brown should be above McCaffrey? We just talked about. I mean, he's gonna be 26, maybe, but that's in wide receiver years. It's like dog years versus human years.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like with Smith there too, it's just like
it hasn't mattered.
Well, no, it hasn't mattered. But I mean, Smith. I mean, I don't know. Like, could he end up being a better long-term receiver than Brown? It seems like he's got the skill set to be.
They're both just so good. I mean, that's another reason to like Jalen Hurts. I mean, it's like, yeah, man. I don't know. I think, regardless, I think that Christian McCaffrey should be down there with AJ Brown, and we can discuss who's on top of who. That's another thing. We'll bring in Byron. We'll kind of have a round table about it. But that's just something else that was kind of sticking in my craw when I looked at this stuff. Mark Andrews up here in this even area with any of these guys, like the Jalen Waddles or Jalen Hurts, even creeping anywhere close to Travis Etienne, to me feels cockamamie after we've just kind of seen him fail this year. I know there's been no Lamar Jackson, but there was a point in time last year when Lamar Jackson was hurt and Tyler Huntley came in. And remember, he was averaging like 12.6 targets per game and still producing. Man, whenever Lamar got hurt this year, you and I talked about that and said, this isn't the time where people calling into the Sirius XM show, this isn't the time to bench Mark Andrews. Tyler Huntley actually likes him. We thought he could continue to produce. I don't see him as I think that where he's ranked in these current rankings is high for him, even in tight end premium.
What kind of change? How big of a change would you want to make?
I think he should probably be. I mean, he should. Right. I mean, right now you have him overall, and I know that I mean, overall you have him in the top 20. I don't think he needs to be in the. I mean, I'm just looking down here. I'm like, he needs to. I mean, you have him above DK Metcalf and stuff.
I mean, yeah, has he not been better than Metcalf?
Better than Metcalf in what kind of way?
In fantasy.
Well, they play different positions.
I know, but still,
no, Metcalf is. If we just look at fantasy points per game from this year, from a younger man,
to me, that's an even more important aspect of it. It's just like, how many premier tight ends do we have? I mean, like, you could get DK Metcalf's production, at least what he's doing this year.
Mark Andrews has gotten like 12.5 points per game this year. It's like, and that's in PPR. What, like, I don't understand. I don't think he needs to be anywhere near this high. What did he? I mean, Kelsey, of course, finishes the far and away tight end 1. I mean, we considered it a lock before the season started that Mark Andrews would, be just the easy tight end 2, but that hasn't been the case, especially with how TJ Hawkinson's come on. Like, has he even been the tight end 2? No, he's got Hawkinson and Kittle ahead of him, and then Dallas Goedert is
Lamar Jackson.
12.6 fantasy points per game.
I think Lamar Jackson plays a big part in this.
Lamar Jackson might not be with the Ravens next year.
You think they would let him go?
Well, no, I don't. I wouldn't. But it's being openly discussed. He wants Deshaun Watson money, and his mom is his agent, and so that's their only thing that they're saying. They're saying we want the Deshaun Watson deal. He's better than Deshaun. So give him $250 million guaranteed. Dude, everybody in the league hates the Browns for doing that, for giving every quarterback that template. Just say, write my name in where Deshaun Watson's name goes and give me that same contract. That's what his mom agent is saying.
I mean, a lot of this too is, in relation to what Mark Andrews has done and just his role in that offense and just how much they lean on the tight end.
He's a big guy who presents a huge surface area for defenders to come in and kill his body. I mean, he's going to be 27 years old. I mean, he's not a premier dynasty asset. We can't have him in the top 20. He needs to be down. He needs to be like, he needs to be under guys like Chris Olave, dude. Come on, Garrett Wilson. Right? Drake London. All those guys need to get moved
I don't know about Drake London. That's questionable.
Well, I mean, he was bad. He was bad in the season. But, dude, he's still a premier dynasty asset, right? I think Kyle Pitts should be above Mark Andrews.
Really?
Yes. He's 22. He's only going to be 23.
Yeah, and he might wash out in the next year.
Okay, fine. But you understand at least the area that we're talking about. And Pitts needs to come up. Basically, those young guys that I mentioned and Mark Andrews, they need to coalesce, and Andrews needs to be at least below the rookie wideouts, right? I mean, golly, we've seen Garrett Wilson explode. We've seen Olave fall off a little bit at the end of the season, but I'm convinced that was because he was banged up. And also because Dennis Allen's just a fucking joke.
Well, and Andy Dalton's the quarterback.
Well, no, that's an extension of Dennis Allen being a joke, right? He refuses to move away from this guy. And they're saying he's safe in New Orleans. It makes me sick. There's another group of wide receivers that need to be moved, I think, considerably up into the kind of into that same area that we were just talking about earlier. Maybe not as high up as I would move Olave, Garrett Wilson. Amon-Ra St. Brown is another guy who falls into that category of guys that need to be moved, I think, considerably up from where you have them right now, certainly above Mark Andrews, right?
That's fine.
Okay.
I mean, if Mark Andrews is the one, I don't feel like it's a sea change other than in that.
I get it.
Tier.
Okay. But I don't consider these guys in the same bucket as I consider the Olave, Amon-Ra, Garrett Wilson kind of bucket. But in a similar way, they need to have a significant move up. Devontae Smith needs to be moved up, I think, fairly significantly, just for the reasons that we've discussed. And you have him sort of down here with Christian Watson, Jameson Williams, and George Pickens. I don't think they belong in a bucket that, oh, Jesus Christ, this Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Dude, he needs to be just out of the rankings. But Christian Watson, Jameson
I mean, I
Williams,
adjusted for Edwards-Helaire in the running back rankings.
okay, but just not in the overall ones. See, that's the reason I'm going to delete this, and we're just going to get this system set up better to where everything adjusts. Jameson Williams, George Pickens, Christian Watson, right? We need to like these guys more than Deontay Johnson at this point, Trashman. I think that's only fair. A Deontay Johnson who now apparently sucks and is going to be 27. There's no way.
He hasn't sucked. I mean, but like,
there's no way we can have George Pickens under his teammate Deontay Johnson. That makes no sense.
I mean, that's fine.
And there's no way we can have Christian Watson. I mean, Christian Watson went from being a fucking joke and an afterthought, and people were dunking on us for saying he was going to be good at the Senior Bowl, to basically people worrying about the Green Bay Packers offense because there's no Christian Watson. National commentators saying like, well, they're without their biggest threat on offense, Christian Watson. It seemed to happen, it happened over the course of like 4, 5, 6 games. And we talked about it on the Waiver Wire podcast that could happen. It absolutely did down the stretch this season. Christian Watson deserves to be in a category certainly above those guys that we just mentioned. I think DJ Moore, you're always a little bit low on him too. I think he probably needs to come up a little bit.
I mean, a lot of that too is, dependent on that quarterback situation.
Yeah, right? And it could be recency bias out of me too, that he's been really good. He's been like a slate breaker these last couple of weeks. But I feel like we're always a little bit low on him. So maybe just something to keep in mind. And whenever I delete this and we put this thing back together, I'll have these notes next to all these guys, right? The only two others that are just absolutely egregious. Tony Pollard. I know he's going to be 26 years old, but he's going to be a free agent, and he's going to go somewhere, and he could end up, if it's a 6th spot, he could be like in redraft next year. We could be talking about Tony Pollard as like the 3rd player off the board or something. So I think we need to account for that in the dynasty rankings, right? I mean, he could be in for it won't be a long time, but he could be in for a really good 2 years here if things fall just right and he gets the sick run out. And that's, I think that's. I think that's worth having a top 25-ish valuation in dynasty.
That puts some, that puts
top 25-ish, top 25-ish. I'm not committing to saying number top. I'm not,
yeah.
But top 25-ish, which would put him around. I mean, I think. Do you think
you would put him around like Dalvin Cook,
who's going to be 28? Yeah, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah, I put him above Dalvin. I put him around where you currently have Joe Mixon's probably about right. I would have him around there. I certainly have him over Dustball Alvin Kamara. And then let's see, and then the other one was
Rashad White.
Rashad White. That feels too low because you have him a little bit low because is it because you don't think Tom Brady will be back next year and the whole offensive identity is going to change? And
that's an aspect of it. And two, I mean, it feels like Fournette kind of comes on later in the season. I mean, Fournette's been arguably the better back in the last 2-3 games.
Yeah, I don't know if Fournette is. I mean, how much longer is he going to be? How much longer do you think that he's going to be around?
I mean, it's hard to say, but
the only do you think that they're going to be able to get out of his contract in 20? I don't think they're going to get out of his contract in 2023.
Probably not.
So, can they get out in 2024? Let me just look. Because didn't he sign a 3-year deal? It was 3-year deal. It was like, well, let's see. Yeah, so he signed a 3-year, $21 million contract with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, including $12 million guaranteed and an average salary of $7 million. In 2022, Fournette will earn a base. This is per spot track. 2022 will earn $2 million and a signing bonus of $4.5 million, a roster bonus of $500,000 while carrying a cap hit of 3.9 and a dead cap of 8.5. Okay, so the dead cap of 8.5 goes down to 5 next year. He's an 8.5 cap hit and a dead cap of 5. They're not getting out of it next year.
No.
They absolutely will get out of it in 2024. They have, because it's an 8.5 cap hit, 1.5 dead.
Yeah, I mean, so
they'll get out.
But it's still. I think we still have another year of them sharing a backfield.
Okay, that's fine. All right. So I don't need to be. For some reason I was under. I was under the assumption that I thought the 2023 year was the year that they could maybe get out. If they can't get I think it's fine to tap the brakes a little bit on Rachaad White, even though we really love him as a prospect.
I mean, I have him right there with AJ Dillon, who I think is, actually starting to come on these last few weeks. I feel like they're kind of in similar positions.
Well, I think both those guys need to be over Michael Carter.
Yeah, that's probably true.
All right. So just some changes there. Taking you guys behind the curtain here as we as we're going to be overhauling these dynasty rankings, the top 250 over at RosterWatch for you pro members. That might be down just for a few days because we're like we said, we don't want it to be confusing. We have to improve some of the systems to where it's just not so hard to update one and then the other one doesn't get updated and all the rest of it. We're getting back into dynasty season. We're getting back into draft season, prospect season. And so all of our focus will be on this moving forward. It's just hard after the year of, season long. You don't pay as much attention to the dynasty stuff. And all of a sudden there's a million little things that catch up with you. I think it's going to be better to just start over than it will be just to go and try and fix all, it's just fix all these little things. And so we will have that up here within the next, I'll work on it over the weekend and it'll be up ASAP. All right. The rookies will go into the rankings. When does that usually happen, Trashman? I guess when we finalize our staff rookie rankings.
And it's after the draft.
Oh, right. We wait till after the NFL draft because we want to know what the team situations are, right? Yeah. And so that gets immediately infused. Of course, our prospect rankings, we'll have on the site for you guys to watch throughout the process before the NFL draft even occurs. And you'll have write-ups for all those guys and our evals and in some cases, videos or specific content we have about them. But the first rookie profile this year, the guy who got the first one last year, Trash Man? Do you remember? Let me go to RosterWatch and just see. So I feel like the guys who get the first ones, sometimes
was it a Christian Watson? No.
Let me just see. Did you do the first one last year or did I do it? 2022. Geez, we did a bunch of these last year. So the first 2022 content, man, it goes through 3 different pages. I did it, and it was Jahan Dotson.
Okay.
Then the second one was you did it. It was Calvin Watson. Then I did Khalil Shakir.
You mean Calvin Austin?
Calvin Austin. I'm sorry, Calvin Austin. Yeah, Khalil Shakir, Romeo Doubs, Bo Melton. Who was the first in 2021? I just was curious. I just want to see the last couple of years, the guys who get the first one.
It might have been like Waddle.
No, because we always start with the Senior Bowl guys.
Yeah.
In 2021, the first one was, oh gosh, Shi Smith.
Huh. Okay, yeah.
Okay. So,
game.
Joshua Palmer was second. Anyway, so here's the first one. Rashee Rice, Trashman, you were the one who did the write-up. I have some thoughts on him too, but give us your rundown, what you think of him. Rashee Rice out of SMU, the record-breaking wide receiver there for the Ponies up in Dallas.
I mean, he's just really a dominant player on the field, especially at the catch point. He's got strong hands. He catches with his hands. He fights for the catch. He's got really good ball skills, really effective after the catch. He's difficult to bring down because he's a big guy. He's 6'2", 203. At least that's what he's got listed right now. We'll see after.
I think he's bigger than 203, man. I know he looks a little bit slim, but I was watching I was searching for him on some Instagram stories and stuff just to see if I could get any looks at him from workouts. Yeah. And I saw one where he was squatting 500 pounds. He looks like he has that look to him where it's like you could tell when he goes beastly on the field. Like you could see it in his when he makes. I think he's going to be an explosive athlete as far as his jumps and stuff like that. I'm not sure about his running, but he's just got those huge quads. I mean,
he's got those big legs. I think that's where he carries most of his weight. That's why. I mean, I'm not certain he'll be a lot heavier than that. It just seems like that's kind of where he.
Sometimes those guys end up being a little heavier than you would think.
Yeah,
but, I mean, you could be right.
But yeah, he's hard to bring down after the catch. One, he's got those thick legs. He runs with power, but he's also evasive, in space. He's got good speed in tight spaces, especially for a guy of his size, and he's got good contact balance. Again, attributed to, those thick legs. I guess he's, and we talked yesterday. You think he's going to run, over the 4.40?
Oh yeah. I mean, I was told by somebody I was calling around about him yesterday, and I said, do you think he's going to test well? Because you had heard that he might run sub 4.4. I didn't see it on his tape. When I look at him, I saw a guy who, if you just watch the highlights, you'll see highlight reel catch after highlight reel. I mean, he'll climb the ladder, he'll go up and get it. He'll body guys. He's got that my ball, me kind of personality, right? Yeah. But in the highlights, I didn't see him pulling away from dudes and just separating. So when you go watch the actual games, and when you watch the actual games, you see like, all right, when's he going to pull away? So that's why I was like, do you guys really think he's going to test well? I didn't say it like that. I said, do you think he's going to test well, and what else should I know about him? And the comment I got from somebody who absolutely would know is that he thinks he'll get down to the low 4.5s. So,
I mean, that's still fast.
It's not really.
I mean, it's fast. I mean, for a big guy like that.
I mean, it's faster than you or me, right? But
it's like Antonio Brown was like a 4.5s, low 4.5.
I mean, Keenan Allen was what, 4.7 or something. Like, I mean, there's always going to be these dudes who turn out better than their 40 time. But I think it's fine. It's like I think it's fine. It's fine, yeah. But it's not fast, but it's fine, right?
Yeah,
I think it's fine, and maybe he'll run faster. Who knows? That was just what I was told. I trust the source on it, and I never saw that sub 4.4 stuff on his tape. Yeah. I just didn't. I think he's cool. I think, like you said, man, he's fine. He's explosive. Whenever he gets to his routes transition points, he's got that explosive nature to him where he blasts out of there. He creates that flash of separation that the quarterback can see.
Multiple ways, to create separation. And even though he ran a relatively simple route tree at SMU.
To you, did it stand out at all? Like what I added into the column is like, dude, he broke the single season record at SMU since 2009 for career receiving yards, and that was Emmanuel Sanders. And to me, people would say, "Oh, it's SMU, they suck." But I mean, SMU's had some good wide receivers.
They've had some good wide receivers. They also haven't had a football program for that entire time.
That's true. I forgot they got the death penalty for right. Yeah, that's true. All the Was that all the Craig James stuff? Or was that Eric Dickerson? Like, what was that? I forgot exactly what that.
I remember seeing a 30.
I think it was way before our time. But no, I mean, they've had Cortland Sutton. They've had like Danny Gray, who was good. Trey Quinn was a good player there. Aldrick Robinson was a good player there. There's the ones I'm forgetting. Prochet was a good player there. Like to break the single season record for yardage, I think is pretty, I think there's something to be said.
Well, he's just like he's not a one-trick pony. He can go deep, but he's also a good possession receiver.
So who is your comparison, your NFL comparison before the Senior Bowl for Rashee Rice, the wide receiver out of SMU?
I mean, I said Rashad Bateman. He just had that innate kind of athletic ability and, to get open and to produce yards. I almost compared him to Jamar Chase. I felt that might have been I felt like that might have been a stretch. But if you look at their size and you kind of look at their ability to stretch the field, but also move the chains and be dominant at the catch point, but I didn't go that far. So I said Rashad Bateman.
Well, let me just tell you, Trashman, just on behalf of my heart and my aorta and everything that carries, that carries this blood within this human vessel that my soul resides in during my time on earth. It says thank you for not making it all completely explode by comparing this guy to Jamar Chase.